Hi guys, I'm Steph. I'm an addict. So first time doing this, so I'm a bit nervous. Okay, so I'm going to be introducing and reading a bio for Julianne A. She joined the NASA Area NA Public Information Subcommittee in 2013 after reading a flyer in the NASA Area Literature Distribution Room. That PL in the NASA area was struggling. Despite public speaking being an fear issue, she joined the PL subcommittee and became the secretary right away. Then she was
PI, sorry.
I'm sorry, PI. I'm so sorry. She joined the PI subcommittee and became secretary right away. Then she was nominated and elected by NASA Area Service Committee of the GSRs to be the chairperson starting in January of 2017. After serving as chairperson for 4 years, another chairperson has been elected, and Julianne is still an active, encouraging member of that subcommittee. And then we have our other member, Steve A. He is an active member of the NASA Areas NA Public Information Subcommittee. He first walked into the wrong room and was embarrassed to leave. So he stayed for the meeting and he liked what he had saw and ended up joining the NASA Area NA Public Information Subcommittee. He's been active with the subcommittee for 10 years. He loves doing public information service and getting the message out to the addict that still suffers. He enjoys giving back what has so been freely given to him. And with that, are they sharing?
Yes. Julianne is co-host capabilities.
Okay.
So this segment is on poster drives and literature drops. Take it away, Julianne.
Hi, I'm Julianne. I'm an addict. First, we're going to talk about the poster drives because it's listed first. So I'll introduce to you Stephen A. You take it away for a little bit, and then I'll talk.
Hi, I'm Steve. I'm an addict. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting us here. It's an honor and a privilege. And that was true. I walked into a basement room in a church, and I saw a couple of people standing around, and I sat down. I thought it was the meeting. And I liked what I saw, and I got involved, and it's been over 10 years. But as far as the topic poster drives, one of my favorite things in PI, really, get a lot of pleasure out of it, because even if you have one day clean, you can go on a poster drive because you have a buddy system. And what was touched on before, your dress is important. Like this part I hate. I wear hats all the time. You can't have any logos on your shirts. You can't identify with anything. You want to give a clear, clean NA presentation and a message to the people. So basically, if anyone doesn't know Long Island, it's 110 miles long, 40 miles wide, and Nassau County is huge, a lot of people. So we target South Shore, then Mid-Island, then North Shore. We do the western area and the eastern area. And it's a lot of fun. So our PI subcommittee is very small. For the last 10 years, we've never had more than 7 people. So it's a few people doing a lot of work. But we invite newcomers, sponsees to come, and usually we can get like 10 to 15 people. So we make groups, and I kind of make it like a contest. Whoever gets the most posters in the windows wins. Usually I'm the winner because I have a good rap, but it makes it fun. It's like a competition. And, this is an area which is a gray area of our anonymity, so there's like 2 sayings. We could say, I'm a representative of PI for Narcotics Anonymous Nassau area, but I say, I'm a member of Narcotics Anonymous PI. I'm proud to be a recovering addict. It doesn't bother me. And, if it bothers some people, so that's, kind of good. But we go in and we have to make sure that the message is clear and strong. And sometimes we have to persuade them a little bit, let them know that young kids are dying in the area. We really need to get this out with the QR codes. Some some little addicts are embarrassed, so they'll just swipe it with their phone and later get the information. And it's really, really good. And we don't let them put up our posters. We have to put them up ourselves. We log them in. We log where we put it in, what date, everything, because you give someone a poster, they're going to throw it out, so we make sure they're up there. There's a pawn shop in my town, and one of the first poster drives I did, this poster was up for 5 years in his window. And yeah, right, Julia remembers. And I'm such a good talker, because I own my own company. I'm like a salesman. I actually got a poster in the Baldwin Post Office, a federal building. I said, you know what? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to sell them. And the lady behind the counter goes, my son's an addict. She goes, absolutely, put this up in the lunchroom. And I walked back and I put it up in the lunchroom. And I get a lot of pleasure, a lot of gratitude of giving it back, because when I was out there using, there was no internet, there was no Zoom. It was 30 some odd years ago. It was hard to get the information. So I, again, too, stumbled into Narcotics Anonymous. But today, with all the technology, it's really great. Think about having this pandemic 30 years ago. There wouldn't have been any Zoom meetings. Addicts would have suffered. And to get the message out, when I was using, I had no purpose. So today, if I can plant a seed, just one person, and not even know that that person got the message, my life had meaning. My life never had meaning out there. And I'm just trying to help the community and humanity as a whole. I have 2 daughters. It's amazing. My oldest daughter's 33. She's never done a drug in her life. She was 1.5 years when I got clean. She's never seen me high. She's never seen me fight with my wife. It's monkey see, monkey do. If you're going to smoke, they're going to smoke. If you're going to do drugs, they're going to do drugs. You're going to drink, they're going to drink. And this is like the best gift that I ever got in my entire life. I would not trade my seat for anybody. And being in PI for a while, I got more out of it than actually going to meetings. Don't get me wrong, I still go to meetings, but I joined H&I. I have a hospital commitment every Friday. I love that too. I joined NACNA, which is the Nassau Area Convention Committee. I joined ENA. I'm a service committee junkie, OCD, I guess. I get so much pleasure out of doing service. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here. And I want to listen to other people, what they have to say, because I like to arm myself with knowledge. And you know what? I've learned that a person one day can come in and share, and you can learn something from them and go, wow, unbelievable, So anybody can rock your world. And I see there's a lot of time here. And I want to hear from you guys. Thank you very much. And I'm going to give you back to Julianne, and she's going to do lit drops.
Hi, I'm Julianne. I'm an addict.
Hi, Julianne.
So I was going to write in my bio that I have a fear of public speaking despite being part of PI, but I've gotten better with it. But I did start coming to PI, and I had no idea how to do public speaking. Anyway, with literature deliveries, this became a really big deal during the pandemic, because when our area was unable to obtain literature from World, PI had a bit of literature that we were able to deliver to outpatients and to independent living residential locations. So basically our plan originally that we had all this literature was to put it in the high schools in Nassau area, to put pamphlets in an 8 pocket lit rack with pamphlets that were appropriate for high school students, like For Young Addicts, By Young Addicts, Am I an Addict? Welcome to NA. So anyway, we were gonna do literature drops at the high schools, of course, talking first to social workers or whoever, wanted to take on working with us. And you know, and that didn't happen because of the pandemic. So we switched, we had to be creative, and we thought, all right, we have all this literature, let's do something with it. So I asked the convention committee if I could get a list of all the outpatients and all of the, you know, all the contact information they had, because as the PI chair at that time, unfortunately, I wasn't really given a lot of information about contacts in my area. So it was kind of like starting from scratch, but I was like, I'm not going to start from scratch. I'm going to ask for help. And so I did. And so I got a list, and I sent this letter, I will put it up, to all the outpatients. And I also sent a letter that was more of a letter. This is more of a flyer. But this is a flyer that has information on where to call, where to go to get virtual meetings information, because there were no meeting lists. Over here, I put instructions on how to connect virtually using a smartphone, desktop, whatever. And also I include instructions via audio for phones or landlines. And the most important thing I thought was the helplines here. I thought it was extremely important to put metro area for the Spanish speaking addicts, and also to put our address and email address here. And I started getting, or stop share, if you want to see that, I'll put it up again. But I started getting tons of emails about people who were interested in getting literature, because I also wrote a letter to this list of, I think it was about 60 places. And I would say I got back maybe a quarter, because I followed up with the other ones and they said, it's the pandemic, we can't receive anything. And I was like, wow, but there's addicts out there who need this literature, you know, just to know what's going on. So it ended up that I kind of did it by myself, because I'm not really good at delegating, I'll be honest. But I went and I dropped off 4 basic texts and a bunch of pamphlets for each residential location that was associated with this company or this place. And so it was 4 different places that it went out to. So I also dropped off literature, pamphlets and basic texts to outpatients in Hicksville, Hempstead, and Oyster Bay. That's just a few of them in the Nassau area. And when it comes to doing literature drops, I don't like to do it blindly. I don't like to just show up and be like, here, like we could do that with poster drives, just show up and ask if we can put a poster. But I'm not gonna just show up and be like, here's basic text and stuff. I like to communicate. I like not to waste material. I don't want people to just throw this in the garbage. So, and no one here would want that either. So my way of corresponding with anyone in the public is I try to get their email address. That's the best way for me to do it. So what I do is, whether it's a social worker or an outpatient location, I do it mostly by email, mostly so I can keep track of what I've said and what I've agreed to, and make sure that I follow up and it gets done in a timely manner. Otherwise, if I'm on the phone, unfortunately, I tend to, forget bits and pieces of what was said unless I'm taking notes. And sometimes I'm not necessarily at home when someone's calling on a cell phone. So I do follow up with phone calls. I do a little bit of phone calls, but I try to solidify plans on emails. So I also do that because I want to, for an addict working on this, I mean, I have other people looking over these letters too, and my emails, but I think it's important to take a second to read over what I wrote, make sure it's in line with the 12, 12, and 12. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm a service pro. I'm just saying I'm not a service pro, so I have to look it over, because I could be saying something that's not in line, or offering something that I shouldn't be offering, you know what I mean? Or, making some endorsement somehow, unbeknownst to myself. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I wrote all these notes, but it's so scribbly, it's ridiculous. Oh, what I wanted to say was, in reference to getting literature to outpatients, we also, you know, H&I is really in charge of doing, oh, I'm sorry, can you hear me now? I'm sorry, that was probably from like 5 years ago. So I got involved with H&I back in 2018. Yeah, so I've been doing that for 3 years or whatever that is. I'm bad with math. So when it came time to leave the institutions that they couldn't, you know, because of COVID, I worked with Rowena and some other people from the Eastern New York region. They created a letter that we were able to change up to make it to our area. And we wrote letters to the heads of these institutions. There's basically 2 of them in Nassau County, to ask if we could bring virtual meetings into the facilities. And like, you know, that flyer that I just showed you, I also gave to H&I to bring into with the literature that they were bringing in. And I did that because I wanted everybody to have the opportunity that everybody else is given. I mean, people used to walk out with meeting lists, and that was like gold. And now there was nothing that really was on paper that they could take that was accurate. So, you know, by working together with the Eastern New York region and other places, we were able to devise this flyer. And also it shows like subcommittees working with subcommittees. It's very important. Even though I was already involved with them, I feel like it was great. And it felt really good to have the subcommittees come together to, so anyway, now we have virtual meetings twice a day in each of the facilities. Well, in one of the facilities. And the other facility, I believe we have 4 times a week, 5 times a week. They use tablets that were donated. So I'm still continuing to hand out literature. And if anybody has any questions or would like to know any more information, please let me know. Thanks.
Thank you, Julianne. All right, we do have time for questions right now. If you just zoomed into this meeting, this was the conclusion of the Poster Drive Literature Drop segment from Nassau area. That was, you know, an amazing explanation. There's a lot of misconceptions and confusions about poster drives and dropping off literature. So please raise your hand if you have questions or experience to share. I see Peter's raising his actual hand. Go ahead, Peter.
Peter Graffer, Covering Attic. 2 questions. First question is about the poster drive. In New York City, when we did poster drives, all the posters were numbered, and we recorded who received which posters in numerical sequence, so that we know if a poster got put up in a place that it wasn't supposed to be, we know who did it. So the first question about the poster drive, do you do that? That's question 1. Question number 2 is for Julianne, and it relates to knowing the implications of the service that we do. So we do stuff in our particular area, but it could affect our region or other regions or other areas and regions outside of our specific geographical boundaries. So I'm curious if you know about that, and if you know about the contingency plan, which is called for in the Public Information Handbook, if you do something on a broader scale. Thank you. Those are my 2 questions.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'll answer the first one. All our posters are numbered, and we put the person's name. We have a sheet that put it in, and we follow up to keep track to see if it's up. And our posters are 5 by 8. They're not big because people don't want big posters in. And we usually put it in a front window, not on a door, so it stays up. And we keep track of everything we do. It's really, you know, simple. And we get a lot of calls. You know, the poster drive really works. So in your area, if you're not doing poster drives, do it, put a QR code on it. They get all the information. It really works. And I want to thank Julianne for being the chair for 4 years because we had trouble recruiting people. She did an amazing job. She brought Nassau area PI to the next level. She really did. What service, what commitment. I didn't want to do it.
Thank you, Steve. All right, Peter. For me, that was a long question. And I understand what you're saying, I think. So let me say, is it because I listed other areas on the flyer that you're talking about? No. Okay, then unfortunately, I don't understand what the question quite refers to. You're muted.
Peter, unmute yourself.
It relates to the public service announcement that the area posted on WOR and the lack of knowledge of the implications that it would have. So I was trying to get you to discuss the public service announcement briefly and the implications or ramifications of that.
Okay, you're talking about the one that we just put up like last month. Okay. All right, so we put out a PSA and we as a subcommittee decided the issue was we did not realize that there would be any problem with putting na.org as the place to go to find meetings, and because it's a nationwide radio program. So the problem was that we put na.org and then we didn't notify World that we were putting na.org into a PSA. And they thought that they would get overrun with phone calls and overrun with, you know, the website crashing. So everything worked itself out. And Nassau area now knows the ramifications of doing that, and that it should first be discussed with World. So it has been taken care of, and I was under the impression that it didn't have to be discussed further.
It's good to share the information so that other people in other committees around the planet and around the country who are considering doing that type of a PSA to know how to go about it and the contingency plan and other points of contact, knowing what was said earlier, knowing your listening audience in this particular case, with a potential listening audience in tens of millions, and the impact that that might have on local phone lines and websites and NORs, etc. So it's important to share mistakes as well as successes because, you know, we help others to learn from our own mistakes.
Well, Peter, as long as you're calling people out, I don't mind saying that you were the one that called NOS to report that they didn't do that. So as long as you're calling people out, I'm going to call you out right now. But I do appreciate this as a teaching moment because that's exactly what the whole purpose of this event is for, is teaching and learning and creating information that we all can benefit from. So before we go to the next segment, I want to just call on Louis really quick because we're like 3 minutes over.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Louis and I'm an addict. I'm chiming in from the Bronx, New York. I'm part of the Bronx area. Okay, my question is, and forgive me because I've been multitasking, right? It's been an all-day event. Steve, thank you. Julianne, thank you. My question is, in regards to the PSAs, the posters, right? Okay. How has been your success rate with the number of calls coming in through your local helpline, the number of volunteers readily available to answer those calls, and the follow-up rate to respond to the calls of, you know, people chiming in because they've seen the number, whether it's a request for meetings, whether it's professional, needing more information about NA, whatever. The ratios.
We don't really know because we have a hotline that's manned. It's another subcommittee, and a lot of the people that call in don't say they got it off the poster, so it's kind of hard to get an accurate number on it. But we go to areas that are impoverished. We go to rich areas. We, you know, like there's groups of rich kids that get high. There's groups of poor. You know, we do everything in Nassau County, and we stagger it. So we haven't been overwhelmed with the call line, but it has picked up since we're doing it, and it spikes a little bit like the next week or two afterwards. You know, some places take the posters down in a month. Some people leave it up, you know. And when I go in and I try to get the poster in, I say, you know, your town is having an epidemic. Kids are dying. And I play on their emotions. And I got like a 95% poster rate of putting it in stores because it really is an epidemic with all the drugs that are out there now and just kids, just the internet, they know more. NA is expanding like crazy. When I first came into NA, there was 5 meetings on Long Island. And that is 279 meetings a week. It's crazy, you know? So your question is kind of hard to tell, but we know it's working.
Thank you, Steve. And thanks for
okay, because we do see a spike when we do PSAs and poster drives. So I thought you guys would have an idea, clear cut, how much of a spike there has been as a result of the poster drive. All right, thanks. I'm out.
Well, Louis, I just want to add, you know, Nassau area and the Eastern New York region phone line are separate committees. That's why Nassau is PI and not PR. So I know that when Chicagoland did their presentation, they actually have much more of a pulse on their statistics that are related to the phone line and so forth. But East New York region does have statistics. They're just not on this call right now to speak to that specifically. Go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, good presentation, Steve and the crew, Nassau County. You mentioned you got a hotline, so I'm gonna ask a 2-part question. The hotline, so it's always 24-hour manned. You'll get a live individual. There's one, and the second part is, when you give this poster drive, do you alert the hotline and let them know that there may be a spike in calls?
Okay, our hotline is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You'll always get a live person on the other end. We do not tell them because there's not a spike that they can't handle. You know what I'm saying? It's just a steady, positive flow. And we only get to do 2 to 3 a season. Because of the cold weather, you know, we usually do it spring, one summer, one fall, to put it together and to get the people and to decide the places, because we only meet, you know, once a month. So it's a help, but it's not crazy.
All right, thank you. Because I know that I'm in New York City. I know that the volume is greater in New York City than anywhere else in the country, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the helpline we have a helpline. We don't have a hotline. They want a heads up. Yeah, so I know the policy varies from area to area. Thank you.
Yeah, we only do small towns one at a time. So it's not like New York City, you're doing 6 million people, you know, walking down Broadway and 10,000 people see it a day. Totally different operation. Thanks for your question.
Thanks so much. And just to quickly circle back to that question about the NA.org, I did communicate with Jane from World Services, and she did say that they didn't experience any super big jumps in phone calls or emails on that NA.org. And ultimately, many times in the community, just seeing the NA name is something that it has to resonate for a long period of time, but it's important that people see it. Like, not everybody just knee jerks a phone call. Many people do, depending on where they see it. But I'm just going to take one last question before we go into the next presentation from Jerome B.
Yes, I'm recovering, Jerome. Thank everybody for their willingness to serve. Question for the poster. Are there any restrictions where you won't, or not you, but we won't put a poster in? You know.
Steve, you're muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Steve.
There are no restrictions. We leave it up to the business owner. Like I even got one in a pharmacy, you know. I only got one pharmacy because they, you know, dish out drugs and whatnot. But the local businesses, we go to a small and they're not really chains. You know, we can't get them in banks and we can't get them into corporate because they always say, well, we have to call corporate, and I won't give them a poster and say, yeah, put it up if they okay it. We only put it up if they let us put it up, and we do it personally. So corporate is tough. Other than that, you know, we really don't get too many no's. Everybody wants to help the community. And getting back to the one thing, why we did NA.org instead of Nassau area, we thought we'd get to a lot more people because the PSA announcement wasn't just Nassau County, it's the whole country. You know, it's a bunch of radio stations. So we just shared on that in the last meeting. You know, that was the topic. But I think we did the right thing because we're not just restricting it to one area. That's my opinion. Thanks.
Okay,
Douglas,
so
just a quick note, if I can. There are restrictions. You just can't put them in public places. You can't put them in federal parks. You can't put them on telephone poles. So poster sessions are just generally for property owners and businesses where we get permission first, Jerome.
That's correct. And we put them up ourselves. They don't go on telephone poles. I did get one in a post office. You know, it's a federal building. That was the exception. But other than that, it's local business.
That's what I was looking for. That clarity. Thank both of y'all.
Gotcha.
Thanks so much, Douglas, Steve, and Julianne. And I'm just going to add one other piece is that in New York City, we've done them in 2 local housing projects, the Sheepshead Bay houses and the stores across the street in Brooklyn, and the East 9th Street houses in Lower Manhattan and the stores across the street. So there's a whole other process for that, but anybody can contact me.